Welcome to Black Love and Cinema with Manny and Jess, where we break down love and relationships through the lens of our favorite movies. I'm Manny.
And I'm Jessica.
This week, as part of the countdown to Christmas, we're diving into The Perfect Holiday, a 2007 romantic comedy starring Gabrielle Union, Morris Chestnut, Charlie Murphy, and Faison Love.
Narrated by Queen Latifah and featuring Terrence Howard as playful angels, the film blends humor, warmth, and a touch of holiday magic in its story of family, love, and second chances. It tells the story of Nancy, played by the beautiful Gabrielle Union, who is a newly divorced mom of three, trying to find her footing again. When her young daughter asks a small Santa to give her mom a compliment, that Santa turns out to be Benjamin, played by the gorgeous Morris Chestnut, a kind-hearted songwriter whose one small act of kindness becomes the start of a beautiful Christmas love story.
But, as in real life, dating after divorce, especially with kids, comes with challenges. Her ex-husband, played by the late Charlie Murphy, is still in the picture. Her children are protected, and Nancy is balancing love, motherhood, and self-discovery during one of the busiest times of the year. Today, we're using this movie as a springboard to talk about dating as a parent, how to do it well, how to protect your kids, and how to protect your own peace while opening up your heart. But before we dive into that, I have a question for you. If you could ask small Santa anything that would be your heart's desire that is non-material, what would it be? That would make your holiday perfect. What would it be?
Non-material?
Yep, non-material.
Or impeachment. And not a paper impeachment, but like a real legit, like Richard Nixon impeachment.
Okay.
I'm going to leave it at that.
I'm going to double down on yours. That's a good one. So maybe if we both get that, that's a.
Merry Christmas.
You get on one knee and I'll get on the other. We'll just... Okay. So, yeah, definitely non-material. Besides that, man, that's a good one. I didn't think of that. Well, yeah, let's go with that. All right.
I think ultimately it comes down to besides the turmoil that's happening in the world right now, I've never felt more blessed and loved and happy and content than I do now.
Okay.
Especially because you're in my life.
Oh, well.
So I don't have a lot to ask for except for peace on earth.
All right. Well, I guess in that same note of things, then I guess my non-material thing would be to be the Santa, because I don't want to be, the person that's like you're sitting, you're sitting on. So yeah, that would be.
That's material because
that's not material.
It's physical.
It's physical, but it ain't material. So that would be mine.
What was that character on King of the Hill? He was like, "Come sit on my lap."
No, that was Family Guy.
That was Family Guy. The old man. Sit on my lap.
The old pervy dude. Why gotta be the old pervy dude?
That's what they brought me.
Oh, dang. Okay. Well, in any case.
Well, it's interesting that the movie opens with exactly that question. Nancy's daughter, Emily, overhears her mom basically saying that all she wants for Christmas is a compliment, particularly from a man. And that simple wish, not for money, not for a vacation, but just to feel seen and valued, becomes the catalyst for the entire story. But what struck us most after watching this film was realizing that Nancy's wish wasn't really just about wanting romantic attention. It was basically about rediscovering herself after divorce, about reclaiming her identity as a woman and who happens to be a mother, and about figuring out how to do that without sacrificing what matters most to her, which was her kids.
So as we watched the movie, we realized that this is a low-key masterclass in something that many single parents struggle with, but don't really address that much, which is dating again as a single parent and balancing everything from companionship to love, connection, and also making sure you're doing everything in your children's best interest in their well-being, whether it's physically or emotionally.
And here's the thing, the perfect holiday doesn't sugarcoat it. Yes, it is a feel-good Christmas movie, but it does show the real tension that comes with dating as a single parent. Nancy is trying to find love. John, her oldest son, is actively sabotaging the relationship with her prospect because he's still trying to process his parents' divorce. And then there's a complexity of her ex husband still being in the picture ish. And in the meantime, we have Benjamin who's trying to figure out how to blend into this family union, not knowing the full story of their family, their context, if you will, and of course, with them not knowing the full story about him.
So, if you're a parent, this episode is for you, whether you're thinking about dating again, actively dating, or already in a relationship with someone new. The guidance that we will offer today it's grounded in child psychology, family systems research, and our real life experience. And of course, we'll delve into how Benjamin and Nancy handled their dating. And we must admit, they actually did a lot of things right. So let's dive in.
So the first thing we think is essential if you're dating as a parent is to wait 6 to 12 months to introduce your kid to your partner. So we've talked about this in some of our other videos, but it's today we getting into the nitty gritty so you can understand how important that is. Most parents, for the most part, know the importance of taking it slow, and so they tend to do so. But experts do recommend that you wait at least 6 to 12 months before introducing a new partner to your children. And that's generally enough time for you to determine whether that relationship is stable, and if it has long term potential, it becomes safe for you to introduce your kid. So in the movie, Nancy and Benjamin, their relationship developed really quickly. So it's Christmas season, and her mom made this wish, and then next thing you know, they're at the mall talking to Santa. Santa fulfills the wish,
Right.
gives mom a compliment, and the next thing you know, they're dating. And like, it really, if we looked at the Christmas season, it looked like this all happened in the span of 1 month, December, basically.
Yeah.
So they meet, they fall for each other, and they start dating within that immediate season. So even though it's charming on film, in real life, that kind of speed can cause all kinds of damage for your kids, and it can cause a lot of confusion, and it can cause a lot of unnecessary strong emotions that could be harmful in the short, medium, and long term. And then that also gives us insight into why John, Nancy's oldest son, became defensive and he didn't trust Benjamin. So by reserving introductions for only the most serious relationship, you prevent them from forming temporary bonds with people, only to have those bonds broken after you realize the relationship isn't going anywhere. And if you keep doing that, introducing your kids to everybody you're dating, then the experience can erode your child's sense of security and trust in you, for that matter, but also whomever you introduce to your family. So if you wait to introduce your children to someone you're dating, it protects them from the damaging effects of you having a revolving door of partners coming through. And it also ensures that your children experience emotional safety, stability, and security. So wait 6 to 12 months, and that's not like an arbitrary deadline. It's psychological research has been proven, but that deadline is predicated on you knowing the stability and long-term potential of your relationship. If you haven't established with your partner that this relationship has long-term potential that can result in something a lot more serious, then 6 to 12 months or not, you don't need to introduce them to your kids. But also, we talked about in another video, I don't remember which one, I think it was People's.
Yes, it was.
You need to let people know you have kids.
Right.
You just don't need to introduce them yet.
It was people.
So be frank. Don't be lying, talking about you ain't got no kids, or giving the impression you don't have kids. But even if you do, wait until you establish that stability.
All right. Strategy 2. Introduce your children and partner on neutral territory. After at least 6 months have passed and you have proven stability for a long-term relationship or the potential for a long-term relationship, you can now introduce your kids to your partner. The key is to do it outside of the home. You want to set a neutral setting because the home is, for all purposes, the sanctuary, the safe place for your children, and you don't want to bring something into that safe place that may change the dynamics of the home. So you want to do this in a neutral area where it's not only a good space for the kids, but it's also a good space for the partner because now the person that you've chosen is coming into that space as well. And it kind of puts everyone on an even ground to kind of get to know each other.
And it alleviates the pressure.
Yes, it does. It alleviates the pressure. Doing activities reduces the pressure as well. So going to a place where the kids can have some kind of activity and it may be an interaction between the couple and the kids, whether that's at a playground, a mini golf, trampoline park, go-karts, arcade, anything of that nature where the kids can kind of do things that are individually set for them, but also the adults can be involved and it gives time for kind of a bonding situation between the partner and the children, and or the ability to see if there's some type of negativity between partner and children. Anything, it leaves you in an area where, if need be, and I hate to say it, one person can walk away, and it's not going to cause any kind of damage, so to say, to the household.
Participate in activities in a neutral space. For one, you keep whatever pressure out of the relationship dynamic, them getting to know them, but also it helps them engage naturally. So instead of like being at home and having dinner, for example, with someone where they have to look at them face to face, in a neutral setting, like if you're at the playground or playing golf or doing something like that, you can engage in that activity. So when you need a break from them and you're not looking them directly in the eye, you can just go bowl, you can just go golf, and the child has control of the situation, if you will, because they get to go do what they want to do and they engage your prospect in a more natural way instead of a forced way, which dining at a kitchen table would be. That situation would force you to interact with someone that you may not want to. And that's why they encourage neutrality. So basically, depending on how old your kid is, will determine your kid or kids are, will determine where you go. So if you have a kid, like you said, go to a playground, little bitty child. If you have kids that are all over the place, go somewhere where they can all do something. Like what are those places called? The games and
Arcade.
like an arcade or something. And it just gives you all time to interact naturally.
So in the movie, Nancy introduced the kids to Benjamin at the home. Then, after Benjamin realizes how challenging it is to connect with John John, he attempts to bond with him outside the home at the mall and at a bowling alley.
So in this case, they did it the wrong way. First of all, it appears that they dated for less than a month.
Yes.
And then secondly, she broke the recommended guidance for meeting on neutral ground. So now it feels like, so John John in particular is feeling like this dude is invading my space. And so his mom was trying to make them get ready and be all properly dressed and ready to engage with this man. But John John's like, who is this dude? Why do I care? And he didn't follow any of his mom's rules because essentially he's entering my territory. And John John's feeling like he's the man of the house because dad's not there. And he also has this idea of hope that his mom and dad will get back together. So that example was a poor example for how to handle it. And if you've ever had kids and while you were dating, or if you've ever been single and dating, then maybe you know it intuitively.
Just avoid that.
Just avoid that
situation.
So the next thing you want to do is validate your kid's feelings without surrendering your authority. So naturally, your child will have feelings about you dating that will vary depending on your circumstances and the age of your child. Regardless of the feelings that they have, it is important that you validate them. This does not mean giving them veto power over your love life, but it does mean that you acknowledge their emotions openly and empathetically to let them know that they are seen, heard, and understood by you. So from the moment that John John meets Benjamin, he makes it clear that he is not feeling this relationship. And even though his parents have been divorced for years, I think it was 3 years, he still secretly holds on to the hope that his parents will reconcile and be remarried. So when he sees his mom with another man, he feels betrayed. So instead of expressing his hurt directly to his mom, he channels it into sabotage.
Like Home Alone at the
Yes, it was. And he came up with all kinds of schemes and plans to disrupt Nancy and Benjamin's growing relationship. And Nancy avoids addressing John John's feelings directly. I think she's kind of a little bit too caught up to even recognize what he's going through. And she's also given the impression, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Me and your dad are not together. It is what it is.
It's been 3 years.
Yeah. And so she never takes the time to sit down and explain to John John what's happening or to reassure him that her love for him isn't changing. Hi, it's editor Jessica here. So I was watching the movie again and I realized that Nancy did have some part of a conversation with John John because he basically expressed his frustration about the fact that his mom was dating Benjamin. And while he did not say explicitly what bothered him, it was implied because he brought up whether his mom had mentioned her dating Benjamin to his dad. And he also said that he didn't want that relationship to become serious, which Nancy, as I said, just saying she was going to do what she's going to do, basically said that it would be and that it was becoming serious. So there was part of a conversation, but I think being his mom, she should have taken more of the lead by asking about his specific concerns and reassuring him that inviting Benjamin into their lives wouldn't mean that dad would no longer be in their lives, and then just have other conversations with him so she could really understand how he was feeling. Again, validate his concerns, but also, again, not give up her authority, but approach this topic with empathy. Instead, it's Benjamin, which is not how it should be, who notices this dynamic. And he tries unsuccessfully, however, to connect with John John on his own terms. If you avoid those tough conversations with your kids in the fear of making things worse, you actually end up making things worse. When you surprise them with somebody, and particularly you've been involved with them for a minute, and now it's like, hey, this person's in your life, then you causing problems. So even if it makes you uncomfortable to have that conversation, and again, think about the age of your children, the conversation will unfold based on their level of maturity and their chronological age. You got to have that conversation because they're going to share their feelings with you somehow, either directly or indirectly. And so the way that this was handled in the movie was poor. I know from experience about dating someone, and then I ended up telling my son about it. And I remember distinctly one time he was very upset about it. He was really upset. I never had that conversation with him. I just said, I'm dating this person, and he wasn't feeling it. And then there was another time I was dating someone. I had that conversation with him already. But my son, he was older at that point. He was a teenager. And he was like, yeah, this dude is trash. And more or less, he was basically saying, this guy is trash. Why are you dating him? And I didn't validate his feelings in that sense. Like, I didn't try to explain it or anything. I just, and well, sure enough, dude was trash. But it's just so much that goes into dating when you have kids. And then another time, I dated someone else who had kids, and his kids attached to me instantly. They're in this case, he had custody of his children because mom was gone after the divorce, and I think they were like trying to fill that void, but also they admired a lot of things about me that were not like mom. And so they attached to me really quick, and our relationship was short lived. And the heartbreak associated with that, in addition to the fact that I'm introducing my kid to him and his kids, it was a whole thing, a whole mess that didn't have to happen. And so I stand on that. Like, don't bring people to your children too soon because you don't want those attachments. It causes way too much pain, confusion, and
Right.
It's not worth it hurting your kids, even if they're teenagers.
Oh, yeah.
It's just not worth it.
All right. Don't force a relationship between your partner and your children, which kind of brings in the next strategy. Forcing a relationship between your partner and the older children or teenagers will almost always backfire. Instead of demanding your children to engage with your partner, frame it as a choice. For example, if you plan to have a dinner with your partner and you want the older children to meet them, you can let them know that they're welcome to join you. Instead, you want to frame it as a choice that protects autonomy, alleviates the pressure to meet and get to know your partner, and it keeps the door open for them to engage on their own and on their own terms. Whenever they feel ready, they'll let you know, especially with the older teenagers.
Or they'll just show up.
Or they'll
One
just
day they'll show up.
they'll be like, all right, I'll come along. And usually, a lot of times, I would say that's based off of maybe how they see you react to this person, or how you maybe the residuals of you when you come home and your happiness, and they're like, okay, I got to see who this person is. Then they'll maybe want to see what's going on, and then they want to get involved.
Well, when we started dating, because our kids are grown.
Yes, that's
they're like a step, like 1 year beneath each other
right.
in a row. And so technically, I don't think they care. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah,
But it still affects them. And I think it's just given our history, especially you.
yes,
And so
yeah.
with our kids, grown as they are, we basically did that. We
waited.
extended an invitation.
We waited a little while before we said anything. I think the main thing was, as far as introductions, we waited a while for introductions.
Yes.
They were made aware of that. Yes, that we were involved with other circumstances. Exes and stuff were involved. The information was kept to a minimum.
Your ex.
Yes, my ex.
Not my ex.
Yes, my ex. The information was kept to a minimum, just basically to keep the drama down.
Well, not with your ex. You didn't care about what she thought.
No,
it was with
the
kid y'all shared.
The ex-children involved.
Yes,
the ex-children involved. That information is kept to a minimum to basically keep the drama where it needed to be.
Away from us.
Oh, yes, away from us. And in the interactions, it was focused on the child themselves. So if I was going out to eat with the kids or meeting with the kids and talking to them, it would be about what's going on with them, not necessarily what's going on with me, because that conversation was not there. That 6-month period had not come yet, and we needed time to let just what was going on in the situation between exes happen while they were dealing with their own loss in those ways. So,
and for me, it was more like my son was aware, but it's an entirely different dynamic.
Right.
So he was not affected like your sons were.
No.
And I think but in either case, we didn't make any introductions until much later.
Yes.
But then, even when we did, on each occasion, it was us extending the invitation.
Correct.
First of all, they're grown. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. We
Yep.
can't force them to be nowhere. Even if it was neutral, at this point, they're grown.
Right.
But we extended the invitation if they wanted to come and they were ready to meet me and vice versa, then they would. And it eventually got to the point where they was all like, yeah, we'll be there.
Yep.
And so I realized it doesn't matter how old your kids are.
Right. You're still going to have to go through that phase of introducing your children to new people. And I guess
even if they grown, like if my mom started dating,
I was just going to say the same thing.
I'd be like, who was this?
Because when my dad, he's widowed, and he started seeing someone new, there had to be an introduction.
Yeah.
So
It applies.
in 30s and 40s,
Yeah.
still introducing your kids to who's new. So yeah, that is a real thing.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
So we understand that you're dating after a divorce, after your spouse died, your long-term partner died. You grown. And you be like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. My kids can like it or love it. But I think that it really is wise practice to follow this process. And along those lines, it helps to trust the process when you are trying to blend your family. So research shows that successfully blending a family takes 5 to 7 years, not months.
Years. Oof.
And this is on average. And depending on the situation, especially if it's a high conflict situation, it could take much longer. Remember that movie with Adam Sandler, Blended?
Yes.
I love that movie so much.
Good film. Non-black, but
I love that.
Still a good film.
But of course, it was a romantic comedy. It was meant to be funny, but it did give you some insight into the tension of, first of all, dating as a parent,
Yes.
but also blending families. And in one case, Drew Barrymore's character was divorced,
Yes.
dealing with dad who's going back and forth with his kids and with her. And then in Adam Sandler's case, he was a widow dealing with the loss of his wife, but also helping his daughters navigate that loss, especially one who took it especially hard. And so that situation, they kind of showed in the film how it kind of like took a while, but in reality, they probably would have been one of those families that took about 5 to 7 years to finally merge as a family. So this statistic is more than a fact. It is a tool for you to show yourself some compassion, your partner some compassion, and to demonstrate greater empathy and emotional intelligence to your children. It gives you permission to reframe your child's resistance or slow bonding process, not as a failure, but as a normal and expected process. It's a normal and expected part of the blending journey. And so when you shift your perspective to that, it helps you release the pressure of rushing the process of blending your family that basically has to unfold organically as you are intentional about showing each other love, empathy, grace, patience over time. So I know from my own life experience, when my mom got married, first of all, I wasn't there. And I don't even recall ever knowing she was dating. I do remember being about 6 years old, and then she came home one day and said, "This is Dad." Like, call him Dad. I was like, "Dad? Who is Dad?"
So I guess if we're gonna go on that,
and that was hard.
It was a different conversation. I remember this conversation. My mom took me to a Wendy's and ordered me a meal, and we had a meal. And she basically asked me about it. And then she was like, "I met this guy. His name's Ed. We're dating, yada yada. What do you think of us getting married?" And I think I was like in a Frosty or something. And I was just like, "I don't care. I'm good. He seems cool." I was about 7.
Why do you keep showing up with kids like with partners of weed?
6 and 7.
Yeah.
I guess that's them hard years. They like, I need help.
Yes.
But yeah, so I
was okay with it.
So yeah, I was fine with it. I kind of known him, and I knew they'd hung out, but it wasn't like at that age you don't really. I didn't see him dating or nothing, but I knew who he was. He seemed to treat her well, and I'm like, as long as you happy and I can keep eating this Frosty, I'm good. Yeah. So, but she did at least acknowledge and ask me if she felt it was okay with me to do it. And I'm thinking, like, you a grown person, I'm a kid. What am I going to tell you to do?
Right, true.
Like, you mama. So, but at least
that could be a different generation.
Right.
Because for us back then, more or less, it's like what our parents said is what it was.
Yes.
But we had kids, like our kids got all kinds of opinions.
Yes.
And it was like we didn't ask. We just offered it.
Just offering it.
Like, did nobody ask you? You ain't even. You barely got to drinking it. You trying to tell us what it is.
Yeah.
But
but
it is tough.
It is.
And your whole family dynamic was different, even with a stepdad.
Right.
From mine. And so while we didn't, or maybe I can't speak for my siblings. I'm the oldest. So while I can't speak for them or whatever, I can speak for myself. I don't think the blending was a issue per se, but I also can't say I remember it. But I do know the impact that happened. And unfortunately, that was a horrible story that still has repercussions to this day for me and my siblings and my mom. So you have to trust the process. But in the meantime, you need to use some discernment while you're dating. So in the end of this movie, everything falls perfectly into place. Benjamin is embraced by all 3 of the kids, and they all come together in this beautiful Christmas happily ever after. It is a very sweet Christmas ending, and it's something that you want to see when you watch a holiday film. But the movie makes it easy for John to accept Benjamin in a very unfortunate way because it basically depicted dad in a negative light so that he could see Benjamin in a positive light. And I don't think that's not good either.
Right.
You don't want to pin one against the other and make it seem like, well, you should like the guy I'm with now because your dad is horrible.
Right.
Like, good Lord, don't do that. Because he was portrayed essentially as distracted, selfish, and
just using the kids as
props.
Right.
For his career.
Yeah.
And so definitely don't want to do that, but and just acknowledge, like, how do you say it? Like, it's having a healthy relationship dynamic with a person with whom you share children doesn't have to be mutually exclusive from having a healthy relationship with someone new.
Right.
And you certainly don't want to make your kids think that is the case. And so that blending process doesn't just happen with you and your new partner with your children, but it happens with your ex.
Yeah.
And, or, the one with whom you share children, accepting that reality too.
Right.
Because naturally, man or woman, they're gonna be like, "Who around my kids?"
Yeah. And that was actually a conversation that I had with my ex mother of my kids. You were actually in the room while I was having that conversation and let her know about you. So,
oh yeah,
and
mind you, they grown.
Yes.
So she still want to know who around my kids.
So, in that, it was a good conversation, and we have a pretty good co-parenting relationship. So it was very congratulatory, very well met, and I think it went over pretty well.
Yeah. So I would say don't expect an immediate fairy tale ending or Christmas magic ending. Instead, trust the process, use wisdom and discernment, validate your kids' feelings, take your time, and wait to see where your relationship is really going.
Yeah.
And then decide together how to move forward with your kids, their kids, and the exes when the time is right.
Here's what we learned. It is absolutely possible to have a positive dating experience, find love, and build a blended family without sacrificing what matters most. So here's our question to you. What is the biggest fear you have about dating again as a parent?
Let us know in the comments, and we probably won't respond, but hey, you can talk to each other.
And if you got some good stories about how you blended, whether it's good or crazy,
A nightmare.
yes, please put them in the comments so we can read. I would love to see some good stories. We might be able to swap some stories about meeting families and stuff like that.
But even if you don't have a big fear about dating as a parent, let us know that too and tell us why.
Absolutely.
That might help encourage some other people.
So this movie is the big kickoff to our
countdown to Christmas.
So you're in the month of December, you're going to see us reviewing multiple Christmas movies. So
we're going to begin right after Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving. So 12 movies.
So if you're seeing you're seeing this probably the day after Thanksgiving, and you're now knowing that you're going to be seeing Christmas movies, 12 Christmas movies from us from now until Christmas. With that, we're going to rate this film.
Hello, it's editor Jessica again. You know what? I'm going to get started on the Christmas spirit now. Even though we did our ratings, I'm going to skip that because we're not going to do them for the other 11 Christmas films. So enjoy it. Tune in, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we do. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next time.